Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Monday. It is Monday, February 16th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. The show begins. Now, welcome back to the Field Press Show. So, not a whole lot on the agenda today. Obviously, you saw the thumbnail. We had some major news in the NFL about Tyreek Hill and his future in his NFL career. United States women's and men's team has been playing exceptionally well so far in the Olympics. We're going to talk about hockey team. We're going to talk about Tyreek Hill, and that's going to make up today's video. So, Tyreek first, then hockey. And in the hockey part, I'll try to break down how they've been playing and what their futures look like for both the men's and the women's team. Is this the year for United States hockey? You'll see. But starting off first, we got some major news in the NFL today about an hour or so ago. It was when it was announced per Adam Schefter that the 8-time Pro Bowl wide receiver and the 2023 Offensive Player of the Year, Tyreek Hill, has been released by the Miami Dolphins. Now, obviously, we saw how good Tyreek Hill and this Dolphins team was when he was at his best. 2023, like I said, Offensive Player of the Year, absolute dynamite, especially for my fantasy team. Won me a championship. But we knew how good Tyreek was at his best with the Dolphins. They were great. Now, obviously, though, these last couple seasons have not been. The team really fell off. They struggled, especially at the quarterback position, to get the ball to anybody, let alone Tyreek. Tyreek went through a season-ending injury earlier in the year, and obviously that kind of started the crappiness the Dolphins had. I wasn't expecting Tyreek to be released, though. I don't think many people were. But with that being said, with McDaniel getting fired, with Tua Tagovailoa most likely getting moved from this over the offseason, it did kind of seem like Miami was looking to go for not a major overhaul, but they were going to do a bit of a retooling phase, trade out some of the older weapons for some new ones, and this is a continuation with Tyreek Hill. Now, obviously, again, 2023 was really a showing of what Tyreek can be at his best. That being said, he is 31 years old. This last couple of seasons, when he was healthy, haven't been the greatest. And it did look like the Dolphins' offense was really starting to slow down in general. And I understand they had their struggles with Tua, but at the end of the day, Tyreek still kind of had a hard time these last couple of seasons in Miami when he was healthy. And again, he is 31 now. He's nearing the end of his time in the NFL. He's had a lot of great years, but every player has a point where they start to lose some of their value production-wise. I've been wondering if Tyreek could hit that point. And again, I don't know how much of this is Tyreek and how much of it was Tua. But again, last couple of years of Tyreek haven't been the best. The Dolphins are looking at some major changes over the offseason for a bit of a retooling phase. We saw McDaniel go. We saw it get announced that Tua is most likely going to be going as well. And now Tyreek Hill is on top of that. We also saw the Dolphins release Bradley Chubb. He's only 29 years old. So again, they're not terribly old. These guys have plenty of time left in their NFL careers, I'm sure. And they're definitely going to be sought after once free agency opens. But those are 4 big personnel changes. Bradley Chubb was a huge part of the defensive line and that sack production. Tyreek, obviously, one of the best offensive weapons in the NFL when he was going. Tua had been their quarterback for a while. McDaniel, obviously, the mastermind in charge of all of it. So that's 4 big heads that have now rolled for Miami, are now off to new destinations, most likely. And yeah, so that's the news in the NFL. Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb going. It's too early, in my opinion, to predict who will get them. It's going to most likely just be teams who need help at those positions. So when you look around the NFL and what needs of teams are, there's a lot of teams who need a bunch of stuff, obviously. But I think a team like the Bengals might be interested in Bradley Chubb, a team who have struggled defensively basically everywhere. That Bengals defense was generationally terrible the last couple of seasons. The Bengals could use them. The Giants could use them. Any team that was in the bottom 10 in the NFL could use either of those two guys. So, yeah, for those teams. But if you're looking for a competitor, though, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs went back after Tyreek Hill. We saw how good Tyreek Hill could be under Tua. We saw how good he can be under Mahomes. Mahomes did look like he needed a little bit of help this year, especially with Travis Kelce starting to fall off a little bit. I wouldn't be too surprised early on if we saw Tyreek Hill go back to Kansas City, go back to the quarterback who really got his career started. But these are just early predictions. Again, this just happened. So it is way too early to see or to predict where Tyreek Hill or Bradley Chubb are going to end up going. But based on early predictions, I would like to see Bradley Chubb go to the Bengals, who need that much help on the defensive side of the ball, especially with recent rumors that Trey Hendrickson might be going soon. And I could see Tyreek Hill going back to Kansas City, where it all began. Moving on to United States hockey. Now, as I record this video, about an hour ago, we concluded Team USA versus Sweden in the women's hockey. The United States beat Sweden 5-0. U.S. women's hockey team will play for the gold medal on Thursday afternoon. They will play the winner of the Switzerland versus Canada game, which is about to get started soon, so make sure to pay attention to that. But the women's hockey team has been unstoppable during the Olympics. Outside of the one goal they've allowed on their opening game, they haven't allowed a goal since and are currently on a 300-minute streak of shutout. They have not allowed a goal since their opening game. They've outscored their opponents 31-1. It is hard to say enough good things about this hockey team. Obviously, the offense is scoring a ton of goals. The defense has been really structured and haven't allowed too many opportunities. Sweden had their chances today, I will say that, but with Frankel and net absolutely shutting it down ever since that opening game for Team USA, the USA women's hockey team has looked absolutely unstoppable. However, the winner of Switzerland and Canada, no matter who wins that game, is going to be motivated. Because this isn't an exhibition anymore. This is gold medal on the line on Thursday. That's a different kind of motivation for both teams. While the U.S. women's team is going to be motivated even more, don't get me wrong, Canada will be too. Or Switzerland, whoever it is. My prediction that is going to be Canada. Outside of how well the USA women's team has been and who they have on their roster, I think Canada is the second best team in the world right now. I know people think they're still the best women's team in the world, but obviously what happened about a week ago with the United States beating it 5-0, I'm going to go with the United States as the best team in the world right now. But there's absolutely no denying how much talent the Canadians women's hockey team has. They have someone in Sarah Nurse, who in my fair opinion is the best women's hockey player in the world right now. And it's going to be a different kind of motivation knowing how bad Canada lost the United States in their first matchup, and how much they not only want to avenge that, but do so in the biggest game of the year, and that is the gold medal game in the Olympics. But again, they're not really just... However, if Canada wants to do that, they gotta clean some things up against the United States that went wrong. What went wrong in that game is that the women's team for the United States got off to such a good start that Canada was never able to catch up for the rest of the game. I'm pretty sure it was 3-0 at the end of the first period, or 2-0, but the U.S. women's team got off to a very strong start, and they did not let their foot off the gas. This is a team that thrives off of getting tons of pressure. They're going to put more pressure on Canada, and I get that Canada's captain, I think Poulin's her name, don't get me wrong, not positive, but I know she missed that game, and that Canada's been using that as an excuse, and don't get me wrong, the captain of Canada is an amazing player. I don't see how she can make up a 5-goal differential by herself. But, again, big player that was a key absence. She's most likely going to be back for the gold medal game. If Canada does make it, which I think they will. But Canada cannot let the U.S. put so much pressure on them. And again, throughout the Olympics, this women's hockey team has thrived off of putting endless pressure on their opponent. And then strong play in the back end in the other direction. Because while I can't put a ton of credit on Frankel, Team USA's goalie, at the end of the day, it also strives from the defense too. While Frankel makes the critical saves when she needs to, she hasn't had to make too many saves because of how well that defense has played in front of her. So Canada needs to figure out a way to get past the defense, force Frankel to work even more, and they'll have a chance. But obviously, it's going to have to start with not being too pressured yourself. Because again, the U.S. women's hockey team thrives off of pressure. If Canada just lets them lets the United States build up pressure constantly for the whole game, it's not going to be a pretty result again for Canada. But again, my predictions: Team USA versus Canada, the two best women's hockey teams in the world. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I think the US would win the gold medal right now. But again, the gold medal game is an entirely different kind of motivation, a different mindset for both teams. Canada is going to want to get redemption for that loss that they suffered earlier on in the Olympics. So they're going to be motivated. Well, as long as this women's team for the US can stick to their game, continue to thrive off of endless pressure, it's going to be really hard to slow them down because nobody has come remotely close to doing so in the Olympics. But now we move over to men's side. Men's side obviously has a 5-0 win against Latvia and Germany last night, and then a 6-3 victory against Denmark a couple nights ago. Obviously, that's the start of the Denmark game was really bad for the U.S., but they did really flip the script in the second and third period and close that game out strong. They shut down Germany yesterday. We saw Werenski finally score. But the United States men's team does look very, very good. It's just a lot of the same heroes or guys we saw playing at the Four Nations face-off about a year ago back on the same team. It's the same thing for Team Canada as well. Now, as far as the men's side goes, again, like the women's side, my prediction for the gold medal game is going to be the U.S. and Canada if they don't play each other in the tournament. I don't think they will, off the top of my head, but we'll see. I believe the tournament starts soon. Starts tomorrow. All right, so there are 4 games tomorrow: Germany versus France, Switzerland, Italy, Czechia, Denmark, Sweden, Latvia. And that's the start. Slovakia, Canada, Finland, and the United States all have buys. Their games start on February 18th, so in a couple days from now is when they start. But on paper, the United States does have a team to get it done, which is why I asked a question in the beginning of the video. Is this the year of United States hockey? The women's team looks like they're on an unstoppable path to a gold medal, unless Canada and Switzerland can pull off a huge upset in the gold medal game. The United States, well, they haven't looked the cleanest yet. They have gotten better as the Olympics have gone on. They struggled a little bit at times against Denmark, but they were able to flip the script around and recover from that. They dominated Germany. They dominated Latvia. The United States men's hockey team is a very good team. That being said, there's a lot of teams left. A lot of very good teams left. In my opinion, again, gold medal game's probably going to be Canada and the United States. The U.S. was able to beat Canada at the Four Nations face-off last year in their first game, and they lost the championship game to Canada. And they've been motivated to get back to that Canada game ever since so they can bring a gold medal back. The U.S. men's hockey hasn't won a gold medal since the Miracle team in 1980. They've had a lot of great teams assembled. They've had a lot of great rosters, but have never been able to get it done. Obviously, the big opponent on the other side has been the Canadian team. When you have a line of McDavid, McKinnon, Celebrini, guys who lead the NHL in points, that's very hard to stop. With that being said, the United States can counter with the 2 of the top 3 of the Norris voting last season and most likely this season as well. The USA overall has better goaltending than Canada. They overall have a better defense in Canada outside of Cale Makar. It's going to come down to the forwards. In my opinion, Canada does have the better forward group, but the U.S. has a very good forward core as well. These are 2 very good teams. I hope they play each other in the gold medal game because that would be absolute cinema. But ideally, the United States men's team does have the roster to get it done. It's a matter of whether or not they can actually do so. They need to get goal scoring going. They need to get Matthews going. They weren't able to get Matthews going in the Four Nations last year, and that's a big reason they lost. Hellebuck needs to stand on his head. He's had a hard time in the big games. He had, going back to the championship game of the Four Nations last season, Elderbuck struggled. Forward core struggled, especially Matthews. They need to get those two sides going against Canada if they want to pull this off. They need to get both sides going just for the rest of the tournament, period, if they want to pull this off. But the women's team looks like they're unstoppable. The men's team has a roster. Is this the year Team USA can win the gold medal for both men's and women's hockey? Which I believe would be the first time they could ever do so if they get it done this year. But again, we will see. We got a long way to go in the Olympics. NBA is starting to heat up. The Daytona 500 was over the weekend. That was phenomenal. Sports is starting to heat up again. So while football might be over, we have a lot of great sports, a lot of stuff heating up. Be sure to stay tuned. It's going to be a very fun few months, especially with the World Baseball Classic right around the corner as well. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. Again, Tyreek and Bradley Chubb released from the Dolphins. They're free agents again. And Team USA, both men's and women's hockey, are very good teams who look like they're on path to the gold medal game. Team USA women's already is. Can this be the year that both the United States men's and women's hockey team win the gold medal? That's going to be it. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.